DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All-Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson. We're going to have a great show. Dr. Casey Olson is here. We're going to talk about pasture management for this summer. Stay tuned. We're glad you're watching.
Stressors that trigger bovine respiratory disease are all around. So when you spot BRD in your herd, turn to Zuprevo, the fast that lasts. Zuprevo is rapidly absorbed in as little as 45 minutes and lasts up to 28 days. Because in the race against BRD, you need to win. Ready, set, Zuprevo. In case of human injection, seek immediate medical advice. For use in beef and non-lactating dairy cattle only. For prescribing information, talk to your veterinarian or visit Zuprevo.com.
Hey folks, welcome to DocTalk. We have probably somebody that's been on here as many times as anyone over the years, Dr. Casey Olson. And he's a good friend, he's a colleague, about the brightest person I know when it comes to cow nutrition, pastures, grazing, beef industry, and thanks for being on the show.
Always a pleasure, Dan.
Dr. Olson is here at Kansas State University, where he serves as the Lewis Professor of Range Cow Nutrition and Management. He is a professor in animal science and teaches a bunch of courses as well, don't you?
Yes, sir. Beef science and advanced beef systems.
That's great. Great school, great program because of great faculty. We're going to talk about grazing, about cows, talk about and we'd kind of set this up. You'd said that there's a difference between stocking rate and stocking density.
Right, and a lot of people confuse those two terms. Stocking density, as the name implies, is just animals per unit area, which in no way parameterizes grazing. You have to get the element of time involved. How many animals per unit area, what body weight of the animals, and how long they're going to be there before you can predict whether a grazing bout is going to be sustainable.
So which one what are we going to use?
Well, we're going to use both. I mean, in the moment, we might talk about, well, how many cows or how many steers will that pasture handle? And we have a fixed grazing duration in mind. I mean, it's fine to talk about density, but I mean, to come up with a sustainable and safe stocking rate, I mean, it takes a little bit of doing. And I mean, you can hire the pros from Dover. By that, I mean the good folks with Natural Resource Conservation Service to come out and work with you to establish that stocking rate. But it's possible to train yourself to be able to do that.
Okay. So where do I start?
Well, you got to start with how much forage is available. And I mean, you can get down on your hands and knees with the chiggers in the grass and physically cut that forage, dry it and wet. But that really doesn't give you I mean, you'll know exactly what's in that square foot of that square meter, right?
Yep.
But, it takes maybe 15 or 20 minutes once you get in the swing of things to be able to take one of those samples. How many of those are you going to do on a single piece of grass? The practical limit is probably 25 observations. It's tedious and it's slow. A better way and a more repeatable way to do it is probably with something as simple as a yardstick. Okay, you can, in 100 different locations, within about 15 or 20 minutes, put the stick down in the grass, see how much in inches is covered by the grass, and then estimate that you're going to have between 200 and 300 pounds of forage per acre per inch high. It's really pretty simple. Then you got to decide, okay, what in this forage mass is going to nourish my cattle and what are they going to walk on by?
200 to 300 pounds of forage.
300 to 400 in rangeland that's in good condition.
Okay, per inch per acre.
Yes.
So if I've got 5 inches, that's 1,500 to 2,000 pounds.
That is correct.
Of forage per acre. That's pretty cool. Let's take a break. When we come back, let's go through the next step.
Very good.
We're watching DocTalk. Thanks for being with us today.
Bovolus Nasalgen 3 offers young calves unrivaled protection against devastating respiratory diseases, including IBR, PI3, and BRSV. And it has a unique blue shadow, so there's no second guessing which animals have been vaccinated. To up your protection, choose Bovolus Nasalgen 3 PMH, the first and only intranasal that protects against viral and bacterial pneumonia. Talk to your veterinarian and visit nasalgen.com to learn more.
When a new calf hits the ground, the clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives them their best chance, but if they don't get any, time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. It's simple. You fill it with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or a nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Ask for it by name wherever animal health supplies are sold.
Success in the cattle business hinges on a lot of different people playing their part. From the vet to the cowboy and the nutritionist to the feed truck driver, you rely on them to get their job done right, and so do your cattle. Your expectations for the vaccines you use should be no different. Bimeta's cattle vaccines were developed and are made and sold by men and women in the cattle business. No smoke and mirrors, just real-world protection that you can rely on. Go to bimetabiologicals.com to learn more.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson here with my friend and colleague Dr. Casey Olson, who's a professor in animal science here at Kansas State University, and he serves as the Lewis Chair of Range Cattle Nutrition, specifically spends a lot of time in commercial cow herds and a lot of consulting across the state in the United States on cow nutrition. And one of the things that kind of caught my ear as we were leaving the last segment, you said, we got to figure out what cows are going to stop and eat and what they're going to walk by.
That's true. We think of cows as generalist herbivores or steers as generalist herbivores, but they are very selective in what they choose to put into their diet. A plant like Sericea lespedeza, for example, nutritionally looks like dynamite, but it's loaded with condensed tannin. And, a cow might nibble on that or a steer might nibble on that a little bit, but they're going to get a flavor-related aversion to that plant very, very quickly. The things that our cows are likely to eat are going to be forage grasses. Here in the Flint Hills of Kansas, we think about things like big blue stem, like Indian grass, being the primary components of a cow's diet. But don't forget, that at any one time, between 10 and 40% of that cow's diet is going to be in some broadleaf plant. And those broadleaves are, they can be very hard to quantify. A big, bold broadleaf plant like ironweed. Every state in the nation probably has ironweed. Looks like it has a lot of herbage mass, okay, but it's got a very prickly mouthfeel. And again, cows walk right on by it. So when we're planning, what we can eat and what we can't eat, metaphorically speaking, along with that analysis with the yardstick, it's a good idea to write down what that stick hits when it makes contact with the ground. Does it hit bare soil? Does it hit litter, dead plant material, or does it hit the basal portion of a plant? And when it's the latter, okay, you need to record the identity of that plant. If you know on site 20 different forage grasses in Kansas, you can do a really good job characterizing what you've got out there.
Well, and I think some of the other one, when you talk about they'll pick the forage grasses, it's part of what you taught me of, it's one thing to burn pastures and you'll see the difference in keeping like the brush and things like that down. But if you don't graze them, you don't get any biodiversity of the plants in the field because the grass just chokes it out because we don't graze it, right?
True enough. True enough.
You didn't think I was listening.
No, I always think you're listening, Dan. That's why I'm really careful what I say. But biodiversity in any pasture environment, even a cultivated environment, is fairly critical for the health of that soil, for the health of the stand of forage. And understanding that some of those plants that maybe cows do walk on by are providing some vital ecosystem service like nitrogen fixation.
Yeah.
So having that forb component is critical to rangeland health.
Yeah. And I think that when we look at different grasses in different parts of the country, and, there's places you fertilize, places you don't fertilize, places that you have biodiversity, perennials versus annuals, all of this is fair game, right? For your pasture management and measurements.
It all matters.
Yeah. So let's take a break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk more with Dr. Casey Olson on things that you can do as you're prepping, turn your cows out this summer, and what you can do after they're already turned out. You're watching DocTalk, and we're glad you joined us.
When a new calf hits the ground, the clock starts ticking. A belly full of colostrum gives them their best chance, but if they don't get any, time starts running out. That's when you grab a bag of Oxford Ag Colostrum in their patented feeding system. It's simple. You fill it with warm water, shake it to mix, feed it with a tube or a nipple, and you are done. No bucket, no bottle, no mess, and right on time. Ask for it by name wherever animal health supplies are sold.
When it comes to treating BRD, you want a product that you can count on to get the job done at an affordable price. Macrocin by Bimeda delivers on both. A straight shooting, no BS tulathromycin that does what it's supposed to do. End of story. You don't need to take our word for it though. Go to macrocin.com for customer testimonials and head-to-head trial results. For your cattle and your bottom line, choose Macrocin.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need. From prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson and Dr. Casey Olson. We're at Kansas State University in Weber Hall, where Dr. Olson is a professor of animal science, and he is the Lewis Chair of Range Cow Nutrition here at Kansas State University, and tremendous teacher, researcher, and someone that if you're needing expertise on cows, rangeland, profitability, all the above, he's the one to get a hold of. So we're going to talk about now, we know what we got, we know how many cows we have, now it's what we're going to leave, right, and how we calculate that.
Right. And so going back to our last segment, that sort of estimate of plant composition that we're taking as we're walking along at 100 different points with the yardstick, right? We're going to encounter plants that we know cows won't eat. We talked about ironweed, talked about Sericea lespedeza. Basically, you're going to take the percentage, okay, the number of points out of 100, the percentage of plants that are inedible, and you're going to discount that from what's available for consumption.
Gotcha.
Now, and other discounts apply too. I mean, if there's 2,000 pounds of forage per square acre, and let's say 15% of the plants out there are not typically consumed by beef cattle, we can't take the balance of what's left. We've got to leave some so that those plants remain healthy and they'll continue to regrow.
Yeah, so you're not going to say, okay, well, this is 85% edible and 15% here, so we're going to take 85%. You're going to have to take a percentage of the 85% and leave a certain percentage of that 85%.
That's essentially how it works. Now, in the dogma of range management, the old adage was take half and leave half, meaning that of the edible forage, you would have to you would have to leave half of that residual biomass just so that the plant can reinvigorate itself. But, you know, if we've got areas of our pasture that sit at greater than 14 degrees of slope, generally speaking, we have to discount that forage as well. So that acreage that sits at greater than 14% slope doesn't even go into our consideration. I mean, and we're not going to find this very often in the Midwest, but if we have pasture locations that are more than 2 miles from water, unless we physically haze cattle out to those areas, they're not going to use them.
Gotcha.
They're going to want to stick to areas where they're naturally comfortable. Now, there are some ways, you know, one issue we haven't talked about yet is carrying capacity. Stocking density, stocking rate are by definition inelastic. Okay, but carrying capacity is defined as the maximum sustainable stocking rate for any given pasture. There is all kinds of elasticity in carrying capacity. The highest paying job on the ranch is figuring out how you can grow more grass. Okay, can you clean up bare soil? Can you get rid of timber, for example, and allow grass to grow in what was a closed canopy? If you can add one more unit of inventory because you've grown more grass, that, you know, if you're breaking even on 100 cows, that 101st cow is pure profit.
Yep. Yep. And you know, I thought one of the things too, when you're talking about slope, that comes back to one of your burn studies where you looked at where it was the hottest when you burn pastures, and there was the most fuel for burning pastures on the side hills.
Yes.
And that it was kind of an aha moment that, you know, cattle like to stay on flat ground.
Yeah, nothing moves faster than a fire going uphill with the wind.
It's just tremendous information. When we come back, we're going to do a wrap up on how you manage your pastures. We're lucky to have Dr. Olson here. We'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Les Anderson. I'm a beef extension specialist at the University of Kentucky. The Alertus on-farm test has the opportunity to completely change the industry. A producer is enabled and empowered to be able to take the sample and run the test or tests at their leisure without scheduling anybody. And honestly, reproduction is the thing that we measure the least, and it's the thing that dictates profitability the most. The Alertus on-farm test will help us to identify cows that get pregnant early. It'll improve our efficiency tenfold.
As a stocker operator, your job is to turn forage into profit. With the right implant, you can. Revlor G improves grazing performance for 150 days, the same length as the typical grazing period. And it's dosed for stockers' maturity levels, adding up to an extra 23 pounds. See why Revlor G is the #1 choice in stocker implants at RevlorG.com. A withdrawal period has not been established in pre-ruminating calves. Do not use in calves to be processed for veal.
It's the drive, the passion, the unbridled desire to be the world's greatest. It's the early mornings, late nights, and every hour in between spent grooming the next generation of champions. We're with you through the best times and the tough times. Seeing your horses through inevitable health scares and setbacks you never saw coming. Everything they deserve is here, delivered fast. We'll work hard for you so you can work hard for your dreams.
ValleyVet.com is your one-stop shop for your every animal need, from prescription meds, vaccines, equipment, and more for the ranch to the show ring. Shop ValleyVet.com for fast shipping and great prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
Hey folks, welcome back to DocTalk. Dr. Dan Thomson and Dr. Casey Olson. We're here at K-State in Weber Hall. Dr. Olson serves as a professor of animal science. He researches, teaches, does engagement and outreach, runs our cow-calf facility and unit. And it's quite an operation, actually. And if you're in Manhattan, you need to see it. He serves as the Lewis Chair of Range Cattle Nutrition. And we're talking about pasture management. And, you know, there's going to be, as we were talking, you know, how do we determine when to come off grass? Or, you know, how do we maybe stretch grass a little bit? Or how do we set our boundaries?
Well, I mentioned earlier that, you know, a dogmatic thing in range management is take half, leave half. But you can safely go beyond that 50% removal rate if you can provide rest during the growing season. And what I'm speaking to here is the idea of rotational grazing. So rotational grazing is not magic. Some people think it is, but what it does is it confines animals to a relatively small area of a larger pasture for a period of time. You let them eat until you get to about 4 inches of residual material, and then they move on to the next paddock. And if you can not revisit that first paddock for roughly 28 days, that forage is going to get rest. It's going to have time to restore leaf area, and every plant, will be more vigorous. And I think I said this already, but you can safely, with about an 8 paddock system, you can safely go to a 60% removal rate of that available forage that we determined in earlier steps. Now, I came up with a really simple rotational system for my own pasture ground, and really like what it's doing for eliminating trailing, habitual paths of movement that cattle use, and they stomp out the forage that should be there. So I'm eliminating bare soil. The one flexibility that you need with rotational grazing, and it's sometimes difficult to come by here in the Flint Hills, is water. So in order to have that rotational system, I had to invest quite a bit of money in water delivery systems so I could get enough water in each one of those paddocks.
Yeah. Don't have a pond in every paddock.
No, I wish I did. But the nice thing about having water in a tire tank as opposed to water in a pond is there's no place for cattle to get in and loaf when they start feeling the heat. And if I need less ponds, that means I got more area to grow more grass. That's what really excites me.
So tell me then, just kind of wrap up, if you're going to bullet list things that you're going to have as kind of your key points or things you're going to think about this summer for your cows and grass.
Well, I can be really simple about this. You know how people say the 3 most important things in real estate are location, location, location?
Yep.
3 most important things in pasture management are stocking rate, stocking rate, stocking rate. You got to get that one right before you can start thinking about how to get better at what you do.
It's awesome. Thanks for being on the show.
Always glad.
Folks, Dr. Casey Olson. Remember, always work with your local veterinarian and nutritionist. If you want to find out what we do at DocTalk, you can find us on the web at www.doctalktv.com. I'm Dr. Dan Thomson here with Dr. Casey Olson, and we'll see you down the road.
DocTalk is brought to you by Merck Animal Health. By integrating the comprehensive animal health product portfolio of Merck Animal Health with the innovative technologies of All Flex Livestock Intelligence, we are shaping the future of animal health, resulting in more effective solutions and healthier animals.
The Alertus on-farm pregnancy test for us has been unbelievable time saver because we can do it whenever we want. My favorite part about Alertus on farm, we can get results fast. In 20 minutes, whether that cow goes to pasture A, B, or C. It's just very efficient. It's going to make you a lot of money. You're not going to have open cows standing there all winter looking at you, and you can do it on your time.
We are a start to finish yard, bring them in at 500 pounds and finish them out to 14 to 1,500 pounds. Max capacity is about 15,000. We begin with the end in mind, which that means it starts from day one coming off the truck. Heard all sorts of stuff about the generics coming out from a few different companies here and there, but we started working with Bimeda. What I like about working with Bimeda is our rep. He seems like he's just one of us. He knows he's been in the cattle feeding industry for a long time. He understands where we're coming from, what goes on in the feed yard. So we started implementing Macrocin last July, and we're using it as our first poll treatment. The data shows that success rates on BRD, they're equivalent to the other macrolides that we were we were using. We just feel fortunate enough, I guess, to get our hands on it, and it works great for us for a first pull treatment. It's what really jumped out to us working with Bimeda, meeting with the rep. Macrosyn's affordable. We finally got a product that everybody can afford. We try to do the little things right, whether it's from low stress cattle handling, animal welfare, how we work with the cattle every single day. That's something we really focus on, but when you've got a product like a Macrosyn, it's just another assurance, protecting you, controlling your BRD from what stressors are thrown out there or what Mother Nature is going to bring to you. This industry, it takes everybody, whether it's working with the nutritionist, it's cowboys working with the veterinarians. Everybody plays a part, and we expect them to do their jobs, but also we expect the drugs or what we put into the cattle to do their job too. And I think these Bimeda products, they're proven that they're doing the job for us.